wins for the week, shout outs to somebody else on the team that you saw do a great job, or you saw our team values exhibited. Okay. Well, let me give one to start off, kind of get everybody going. One was Sarissa Lair. She is our Dallas partner there, and she did a great job representing the place. And she had so many great ahas that when we were doing our watch party at our market center, a lot of people said, man, that stuff is just golden, the stuff she shared. As far as culture will attract the right people and also repel the right people. And I thought that was just right on the money. Give me one more and we're going to go ahead and get in with Maria here.
I want to give a shout out to Floor and Stacy, our transaction coordinators. They've done an awesome job in helping me kind of flow through the process of all of our contractual obligations. And I'm really appreciative of that.
Makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for that. So with that, we're going to roll into our call with Maria. And I've been blessed to be in Adelina's Power Up in person down in Texas. And it is something where it goes fast. Adelina will come in, give some different information to share with the team. And then they go right into their script practice. And I think it's a great format. And then Maria, I don't know if I was able to meet you because there's so many people in Adelina's Power Up, but I'm glad I finally get to meet you today.
Same, yeah. When was it that you came?
It was 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
We're down there and we ended up having tacos for lunch. It was probably an everyday occurrence for you guys down there.
Yeah.
So with that, let's go ahead and jump in and kind of, Maria, kind of tell us about your background.
Yeah, so I'm from Austin, and so my background is really, real estate was actually my first like long-term career, but I was in the service industry for quite some time through like high school and college, and then when I was starting out real estate as well. And then I went to Texas State University to get a marketing degree, graduated around 2015, I think. And then about 6 months later, I started, I had done a few like sales internships and stuff like that. And then I was looking for, the next step as far as a career, and interviewed with Adelina. And yeah, been with her ever since. And so not a huge lengthy career or anything like that, but definitely some like sales and service industry experience, which I think is helpful.
What was your production last year?
Last year, I did 31 million, and I did that with 66 units.
Wow, that's awesome. And what's your team look like right now?
So my team is me and my buyer partner, Ashley. And then about a month ago, we actually just hired a virtual assistant who's doing database management. So Ashley and I work together as a team. I mainly handle listings and she mainly handles buyers, but we kind of jump in with each other as necessary. There's still buyers I take care of. And so, we do a lot together. And then the virtual assistant's role is coming into something where she is starting to manage the database and do some more like colder lead follow-up, sending out texts and emails to just revamp anyone in my database that haven't been anyone that's not like a super hot lead that I've been in touch with already. So she has like a couple thousand leads that she manages and just tries to tee them up for an appointment or re-engage them.
So in your contacts, you've got about 2,000 leads or past clients in Sphere in that database that she manages for you.
About that amount. They're not all past client in Sphere, but yeah, a lot of leads in there that I've talked to and that have built up over the past like 6.5 years.
Wow. What was your biggest challenge your first year? Tell me about that. Because we got a lot of new agents on board. So what that first year looked like for you?
For sure, definitely just finding business. That's always like the challenge when you first start. So finding business, just converting leads. It took, I think my first 6 months, I did maybe like two or three deals, maybe less. So finding leads, or not necessarily finding leads, but just finding business and converting business. And also just managing the ups and downs financially of real estate. So I didn't have a huge savings or anything. I just, for the first like 9 months, I was still working at the restaurant. So just managing like the ups and downs of it, emotionally, financially. So I would say those are probably the biggest two.
So what was going through your mind when you all had 2 or 3 closings your first 6 months?
Questioning if I was doing things right, wanting to work harder so I could build more up and get there, because there were other new agents on the team experiencing similar things. I knew that it wasn't abnormal to not get like closings right away, but it's a little bit difficult mentally because you want to just get right into it, start getting deals. If one thing falls through, it's like the end of the world because that was like your one paycheck. But yeah, I think just trying to get as many people in my pipeline as I could was my mindset for the first year. And then obviously just some challenges with the ups and downs of it.
Now, one of the things we heard Gary talk about yesterday too, and everybody's kind of talked about that, is when you're going through that process and you're going in every day and you're making phone calls and you're following up and you're doing the open houses and you're not seeing that business come in like you want it to. What was your big why, or how did you get through that?
I think that, honestly, I don't know that I had like a really big why at the beginning. I think that I knew that this was what I wanted to do and I didn't want to fail at it. So it was more just like living up to my potential, making sure that I was actually, I didn't want to fail, I think is probably the biggest thing. And so I think what got me through it, my family and my husband were a big help, it's not like we had a bunch of money coming in, like my husband was still working at the restaurant too. But I think having just some support and having a little bit of stability with my other job, like when I worked there nights. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like I had zero money coming in. So I think just for anyone coming in, like having some sort of savings or having a little bit of like support, whether it's financial or just emotional, someone like that supports you in what you're doing. I think that's really helpful because obviously there are times I would come home and just be like, I don't know if this is the right fit for me. I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I can continue. I think everyone has those questions initially or even later. But having some support, or at least feeling confident enough in what you're doing and the choice that you made to start your own business is something that I think was helpful in getting me through that.
Not bad. Now, at what point, what was your second year look like? You said your first year was kind of slow. About your second year?
My second year was okay. I did, I don't know the amount as far as production, but I know I did 29 units. So I was ramping up a little bit, not like some of the brand new agents you start now, or are you doing like 50 deals their first year? So definitely not like that, but slowly but surely ramping up is what my second year was like. And I was starting to feel a little bit more stable, like not as many ups and downs, a couple closings a month. Obviously a few, some months with no closings, but enough to get me through.
Okay. Now, what's your production so far through this year?
through this year, I have closed and pended 32 million and 58 units. So about caught up with where I was for last year. And so hopefully this fourth quarter will get me ahead. My goal is 1 million in GCI, and that will probably take about 70 units. So I am tracking for that. It's the market change has been some different things to get used to, but hopefully I'll still hit that.
Now, I think it was shared with me anyway, and maybe this is incorrect, but you have already achieved 1 million in GCI created within a 12-month running period.
Yeah, I have. So that was like, I think June 21 through June 22 or something like that. So yeah, I did hit that. That was exciting to see.
That is just amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I hit it in a calendar year. It can be, you know, I think I had a good 2 last quarters last year, a good 2 first quarters. But I think I can still hit it this year, I hope.
Now, a lot of times we see that leverage start to change, and it's that fault or that pendulum, which kind of goes around, and it just makes it so much easier to get business. How has your business changed as far as from that second year even to this year?
Yeah, so the first few years, my business mainly came from, well, do you mean more like lead sources?
Tell me about your typical day. We'll just start with that. What's your typical day look like today versus what it did back then?
Yeah, so the first few years it was lead gen most of the day, like probably till 2 or 3. If I had an appointment, great, I would do that in the afternoon, or like had kind of administrative stuff, or like transaction coordinating, things like that. But the majority of the day was lead generation and lead follow-up because I was still building that up. And then weekends were out showing. So I probably, first 2 or 3 years, I was probably working at least like 60, sometimes even 80 hours a week. Like it was quite a bit of hours. And then now, a lot of my day is more like, so in the morning, I do still do some lead follow-up, conversing with investors, finding investor deals, stuff like that, like delegating anything as far as transaction coordinating, keeping my eyes on those sorts of things. And then afternoons are typically appointments. The weekends, I think the biggest change is that I was able to get a lot of my weekends back. And so more of a manageable work week, like 50 hours maybe. And the weekends, I am still like with listings, more of like a passive work, you know, anything that comes in, any amendments I have to deal with, arranging showings, like typical listing type duties that you might expect on the weekends. But my business partner, Ashley, is doing the showings and stuff like that. So that has really brought me back, like more time, you know, just more time with my friends and family, and not working in an unmanageable amount. So that's been really helpful.
Now, one of the things you said, sometimes you would lead generate till 2 o'clock. I mean, that's sounds like it's like 5 hours of lead gen time. Is that what you were doing when you first started?
Yeah.
Like from 9 till 2 with lunch?
Yeah. I mean, if there's not appointments to go on, it's like, what else are you going to do if you're working a normal work day? I usually had my, like my first year, I usually had my restaurant shifts, like 4 to 10 or 6 to 10 or something like that. So until then, like I was working until I felt like it was like a productive day. So if you end at 12 and you don't really have an appointment, it's like, what else are you going to do the rest of the day? So I was like, well, I might as well at least lead gen through the afternoon to get some stuff going.
Okay. How about script practice? How helpful were the scripts and stuff for you?
Definitely helpful. I think really as a new agent, just internalizing a lot of those, just objection handlers especially, is really helpful, because once you internalize that, you can really begin to listen to the lead and like troubleshoot with them and actually be a good salesperson by listening to their needs and helping overcome those needs. Whether opposed to just like looking at a script and thinking about, oh, what am I going to say? It's like, okay, now that I've internalized this, I can truly listen to what they're going to say and help them.
Do you still practice scripts?
Sometimes it's not a regular practice of mine, to be honest, but I think because it is something I've internalized more. With market shifts, of course, I do listen to a lot of different seminars or practices that overcome some of these new objections that we're having.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I don't practice quite as much anymore now.
What about your buyer's agent, your buyer's partner? You said, how did you bring them on board? How did that work?
Yeah, Adelina helped me with the hiring process and kind of filter out some people. And she came on in August of 2020, so exactly 2 years ago. And she's doing really great. She's super dependable, which is valuable to me. And she manages most of the buyers as far as everything from the buyer consult to showings to managing the contract. And so it's gone really well with her. And it's allowed me to get my weekends back. And it's also allowed me to be a little more intentional in increasing our price point and focusing on more investment and development type production, which is what I enjoy the most.
I'm sure she gets asked questions about scripts and stuff. How did she get up to speed with her scripts?
She did the normal script practice with some of the newer agents on our team. Mm-hmm. And then also Valencia has that class that she did. She did the one-on-one training with Valencia. So that was really helpful for her too. And her and I will troubleshoot too on any script through any issues she's having with clients. But yeah, she really dove in because we have our newer just coaching agents within our team. So there's probably at least 8 or 10 of them that are within their first year or two that are heavily in script practice and lead gen. So she kind of joined in with them and was able to get her practice in that way and with Valencia.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about place a little bit, or ask you about place. What are the top 3 things you think you've gotten as a benefit from place?
Yeah, so I would say definitely the network. The network and leads are 2 of those probably top things. Having just a large network of people for training, for referral sources, and having that has really been huge in helping me build my database, especially after a few years. Once you get a little experience under your belt and you're actually someone that people want to give referrals to, you show your face to some of these different conferences like the Build How, things like that. Once people start to get to know you and know you're just not in your first month or something like that, or haven't done any deals, then I think you really build on that. Showing up in your first year or 2 is definitely helpful in getting some of those referrals and getting that rapport built with other members around the country. And then my database too is definitely something I contribute to place, because the different lead gen levers that they help gear you up to utilize, all the resources we have for open houses, Mojo, our CRM, everything like that has really helped me just grow to what I have now business-wise. And then the last thing I would say is financial stability and freedom, because there's a lot of wealth building tools and just dialogues and a lot of wealth building resources within place. And with Ben and Chris having the, health insurance, things like that really gear you up to have a really stable long-term wealth building career within place. That's what I would say.
What would be advice you give new agents that are on the call today?
Yeah, I would say really, really focus on building your database and adding everyone in you can, like I think I started with like my wedding list of people and just added like everyone from there. And then anyone I met, any sign call, any like open house lead that you may think, oh, well, they already have an agent, or this is just they're not really serious. Really adding literally everyone and digging in with each lead as far as you can, like not just asking one or two questions, but, oh, do you have other properties you need to sell, or do you have this or that? I think some of my best handful of leads right now, like long-term leads or long-term clients rather, are people that may have started out one way, or like started out with just like a $50,000 land deal, and now it's like a builder that's building $2 million houses. So like really digging in with every single lead and treating everyone the same, like the same amount of respect and the same, just the same amount of care that you would treat a really high dollar client.
Let me give you an objection that I always give with people when I tell new agents, you want to put everybody in your database as possible. Well, isn't that kind of slimy? I mean, they came to your wedding, you're saying for my wedding present, I want you to let me sell or buy a house with me. I mean, tell me about that. What would you say to that?
It's only slimy if you're not giving anything in return. I think always having a piece of value to bring to them is the best way to start a conversation. How can I help, or what are your real estate goals? Things like that, to show that you're really there to help. And with all the different, there's so many different reasons to call, a different, not even call, text, email, just a lot of different reasons to reach out, and a lot of things within our network that we can pull from, like stats, different things that give us a reason to call and say, hey, have you heard about this? Or if you have an event, just anything that feels good about calling versus just, hey, do you want to buy a house? So, yeah.
It is slimy, isn't it? Hey, you want to buy a house?
Yeah.
Okay.
Little used car salesman-y, but.
I'm going to open up for questions for anybody that has questions for Maria right now. So just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask them.
Hey, Maria, I have a question. Have you looked at where your business comes from and broken it down percentage by percentage? And if so, I'd be curious to know what those percentages look like as far as sphere, open houses, door knocking, those type of things.
For sure. I do keep track of that. I have a spreadsheet that I add everything to see how my sources have changed. I think the first, up until like year 3 or 4, I don't know the exact percentages, but I know that most of it was internet leads. At the time, we're using Boomtown, so I call them Boomtown leads, but like Brivity type internet leads, open houses, sign calls, some sphere and referral, but that was probably a lower percentage, and past client referrals. And then now I would say half of them come from like past client referrals and other agent referrals that I built relationships with. And then see where I'm at now. Mainly, so right now it is mainly referral type business, but it does feel like a lot of that stemmed from, so like I have relocation referrals, past clients, agent referrals, sphere referral. So mainly those types of leads now. And that's the source they are now, but many of those stemmed from like an open house lead from 2 years ago that now buys all the time, or like an old expired lead that I called that now has a bunch of new builds that they sell. So like that's what it looks like on paper, is like sphere and past client referral, but them building up to that came from all those original sources that we all do.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Maria, if you can hear me, thank you. This is super helpful. I think just, kind of that consistent, at some point there's a boring aspect going on there. I know, just kind of continuing to follow up, moving towards people with value. I thought one thing you said was good, was kind of dig into lead as far as it will go. Because I do feel like I've got a lot of leads that are kind of, I would say on a 2 or 3. And so I feel like I spend a lot of time on those that really kind of fizzle. So, and then I don't get to the past clients and the warmer leads as much, because these other just kind of, they snag me a little bit more. So when have you what are some things that you've kind of felt like, yeah, this is indicators that, yeah, I need to kind of not get stuck in some of these, I guess, colder leads, and just kind of let those kind of wash away for a while, and be able to, kind of indicate like what to stay with and which ones to go ahead and like not get swamped with.
Yeah, I would say once you get people on the phone, since it doesn't take that much extra time, I would still continue to ask more questions, digging into things for any lead. Like, oh, do you have any other properties, or do you have any friends or family that are looking to buy or sell? Those kind of questions, because I've been surprised by leads that I think, oh, this is kind of a dead end lead. They're just looking for like a lot. They may never buy. And I've been surprised to find out that maybe they are looking for like a development, or they have property that they need to sell, or just bigger things within those leads. But to be most efficient with some of those leads that may never amount to anything, I think simply setting them up on like drips, or like more mass text basis, and taking really good notes and categorizing your leads well, so that you can be more efficient in like that kind of outreach. So yeah, I would say utilizing the CRM for that for sure. But still, I think it still makes sense to always, if you have them on the phone anyway, to always ask as many questions as you can and dig in as far as you can, because it only takes a little bit longer. But I know what you mean with, sometimes it's like, okay, you're beating a dead horse sometimes with these leads, and it's like, it may never amount to something, but you never know. Like you really do never know what a lead will lead to. So.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Who else?
Sorry, I think you're just such a great resource, because you are where we all want to be one day. So if you don't mind, I'd like to ask another question.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Whenever you brought on your showing assistant, did you do 15%, or was there a different split that you did with them, or did you pay them by door? What did that look like?
Yeah, so we started out with a smaller base, like I think 1,500 a month or something, just to kind of keep them, give them some sort of income while they're starting to build up. And then it was tiered for the first like 30, 60, 90 days. Like first it was 5% of total GCI after like any referrals or anything like that. And then it gradually went to 10%. She's at 10% now. She may go up to like 12 or 15% at some point, but that is of total GCI. So I don't know if your 15% you mean is the same, like if we're comparing the same thing. She also gets paid on listings and buyers. So 10% of total GCI for both. Because that, I mean, I think I found that it to be like a full-on business partner, which is what I refer to her as. It feels better to have her buy in for everything. That way it's like for any tasks that need to get done for the listing side, and as we grow, she's part of everything. And I think that's helped with retention. It also has to do with the type of candidate you're hiring on. If it's someone that's more like very entry level, just a showing assistant, that might be one course of action with the pay. Whereas if you're hiring someone that you want to be more like a partner with you and grow with you for the long term, then that would be a different way to go about it for that type of person. So, but she made 100K her first year. So
Oh, wow. Is she, if you're on an appointment, is she making calls for you?
yeah, she does make calls. As we've kind of grown into her, just her strong suits and everything like that, we've found that she's really great at like I mean, no one really loves cold calling, but she's particularly good at like hand holding and making people feel really good once they're kind of in that, like, okay, almost ready for an appointment, or maybe like a referral that's more of like a in the bag lead, or just more of like a warm follow-up. She is consistent. So like her having a pool of maybe 20 to 50 hot leads that are like getting ready to start shopping is her strong suit. And then I did continue a lot of the follow-up. And now that we have a virtual assistant, that person is the one that like kind of tees us up for the appointment. So in terms of like the lead flow, I think she's best at, she does make calls, yes. And she's best at like kind of getting them from appointment to under contract.
Very good. What other questions?
Got one. What was your most valuable educational resources during your first year? Books, videos, websites, something that we first-time agents can kind of get into your mind, I guess, to see how you built your education, your business?
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of hard to answer because we didn't have nearly the same amount of stuff that we have now in my first year. Like it was basically just like us and Adelina in like a conference room, a small conference room, like making calls, and kind of anything we needed help on, we would just ask her. So like, I mean, I had a great resource as far as a mentor with Adelina, but there wasn't like a toolkit or like a log of videos or anything like that. So I think I was kind of just like pulling from any KW resource, or really just putting my head down and adding leads, even though I've lost a lot of listings, a lot of listing appointments I went on that didn't work out. So it was more, I think, just like the drive to get in front of as many people as I could versus actually being skilled, because I'm not really a natural salesperson by any means. I think it was just kind of like a try with as many people as I can. Now I think I do utilize a lot from like the place toolkit when I'm helping training Ashley or anything like that, or with Anne, our virtual assistant. So definitely anything from the toolkit or like other people within the network. So sorry if that doesn't answer your question as much as you may have wanted, but
I thought that was great. What other questions?
Miss Maria, I think you said that you worked at least like 60 hours a week when you were first starting, when you were calling until like 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you could, tell me what time did you start calling, like in the morning until all the way till 2 to 3? Like, what was your like day in a life, I guess, as a new agent?
yeah, so just after Power Up, it wasn't particularly early. So at 9:30. And my day definitely started the night before with lining up, like kind of either scheduling out emails or texts, or looking through my database to make sure I had like a solid call list with notes on what to say for each person, versus just like, especially for the lead follow-up, because the first part was more cold call with Mojo, like expireds and circle prospecting and stuff like that. But I wanted to make sure like my CRM, more like warm lead follow-up, was as efficient as it could be, because it could take a lot of time to like dig through the notes and be like, oh, who was this person? What do I need to say? So taking really good notes in your CRM every time you talk to anyone, and setting up notes in your tasks to make sure like, hey, I can just call through this list and know exactly what to say. I don't have to be like digging through my notes to be more efficient. So definitely not super early, but I was trying to be as efficient as I could with those.
So you didn't just show up at the office, do script practice and start calling. You were actually the night before looking through saying, these are the people I need to follow up with, in addition to my new stuff that I'm going to be calling, and make a plan for that.
Yeah, for sure. And while you're calling too, trying not to get sidetracked, like just if something, because you can get excited if you get a good lead and you're like, oh, I have an appointment, I got to prep for it. But just jotting that down and making sure it's like an afternoon or even an evening task. Because the work hours I did try to focus on like stuff that could be done during the workday, like calling people or coordinating transactions. But the evenings, like, you know, after maybe you put your kids to bed or like just when you have a little bit of extra time, doing those like CRMs or prepping for appointments, things like that, you can just be doing by yourself and don't need to be doing during business hours, because you can best utilize your time for finding leads during that time.
Very good. Who else? One more. No more. I'm going to make a statement, then I want you to just comment on it. Sounds like that you went in, put your head down, and just said, I'm going to make these contacts. I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to keep adding people to my database. And then you became successful with it. And then you started building on that and just layering your success on top of one another.
Yeah, I think so. I think because I sometimes get questions of like, oh, like what kind of scripts do you use or this and that. And I really don't think I'm particularly like a great salesperson or anything like that. I think consistency is what has led to this. Because you know, you can be consistent or you can just kind of like do a lot in a couple days and feel like you're being productive or that you worked really hard and burn out. But I think like you said, putting your head down and getting the work done. And it can seem like a lot and it can seem daunting and like a lot of hours, but it's like, you know, you are building a business. You're, you know, a CEO of your own business. You're not an employee. So I think anyone who, if you're working 40 hours, you know, that's great, but I don't know if you can necessarily expect to build up to a really big business. If you're, you know, I don't think anyone who has built a big business has just kind of put in the bare minimum and expected it to work out. I think you really have to build up to that and stay consistent. Yeah, so I'm not a great necessary, like I get to know people and build rapport, and I'm like, I think people like that I'm detailed and like listen to them and that sort of thing, but it's not that I have like, not like a smooth talker and know exactly what to say. That's definitely not how I became successful.
Steve's got a question.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much a question, but just saying thank you. I think there's a lot of members of my team on the call, and what I love is that you said a lot of things that I say all the time, but they probably are tired of hearing it from me. And you've built a really huge business, and just hats off to you. And I love Adelina and I love learning from her. And so thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing. And even I was inspired by some of the things you said, because even getting on the team leader side of things, there's some things we have to just do consistently every day in our business that I'm sure Wes and Robbie and Miss Charlotte don't feel this way, but sometimes I just feel like it's tough to do. And so just knowing that it's okay to just stay consistent and just keep following the model, and that there's just no easy button. There's not some magical book you read or some magical script that you practiced. You just dug in every day, talked to more people, got better at what you're doing, and it turned into something huge. So thank you for sharing, Maria.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I think, yeah, on the team leader side, it's like, I mean, I'm not a team leader, but at least with leading my small little group, it's like sometimes you're doing the same things. It's just a different type of way
Different
that you're
skill.
doing it. Yeah.
same thing. So yeah, no, for sure. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really is. I'm gonna wrap it up unless anybody's got any other questions for Maria. And Maria, huge Tennessee thank you for coming on today and sharing your success, also your stories with us. Really very appreciative of that.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Anytime. Let me know if you guys have questions. Feel free to share my number and email Wes. And thanks again.
So for any
Thank
referrals
you.
for Austin, Texas, you've got your favorite agent now.
Yeah.
So make sure you reach out to her. All right. Thank you again, Maria.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Mhm.
Bye, everybody.